How do you deal with negative emotions at work? Your negative emotions and other people's negative emotions. And this isn't going to be the video where I talk way too generally and you're not going to be able to figure it out and it's not going to apply to you as a technical leader. I'm going to give you some very practical and relatable scenarios which I hope you will relate to as a technical leader. And I'm going to give you very tactical guidance that's going to be specific to these scenarios that I come up with that you can then make your own. So, how do you deal with negative emotions? And what's the problem with negative emotions in the first place? And actually, let's start with why we feel negative emotions in the first place. All right, so let's dive in. Before I do, though, let me introduce myself just in case you're new here. And if you are new here, welcome. If you've been watching for a while, thanks for listening. I'm Jen Bunk. I am a career coach exclusively for technical leaders, and I help tech leaders like you to build your dream career. Why do we feel negative emotions? I like to call them wobbles. I like to be a little bit more neutral because they're not necessarily negative. They're what's so. I'm feeling angry right now, and that's what's so. It's not good or bad. It's simply what's so. So I like to call it a wobble because it feels more neutral. And it actually is a great way of feeling into visualizing what's actually happening, or what I believe is actually happening at a deeper level. What's happening when you wobble, when you feel a negative emotion, when you get triggered? The reason that you feel that wobble is because your vibration, your energy, your feeling space in that moment is out of sync with source energy, with life force, with God, with infinite intelligence. Use whatever term resonates here with you, the higher power. It's out of sync. Life force, infinite intelligence is all about love, light, joy, prosperity, fun, freedom, fulfillment, all the expansive things. That's how it, as an entity or as an energy, is almost always vibrating. Actually, always vibrate. That's my belief. And we're dancing with it. And this force is wanting to dance with us. And when we, oh, sweet little humans, feel something that is out of sync with all of that expansive energy, we feel the wobble. It's not because we're wrong. It's not because we're terrible. And it's not because we shouldn't. Stick a pin in that. I'm not telling you to not feel these things. It's important to feel contraction and wobbles and negative emotions from time to time. It gives us valuable information about who we are and what we're about and what our boundaries are and what our preferences are. And we're going to feel that wobble because we're out of sync with source energy. So how we deal with negative emotions is related to this out of syncness. And so before I paint this scenario, let me talk more generally, and then I'll give you the specifics about like how to deal with specific scenarios. But really, very briefly, very simply, but it's not always that easy, is first, do your best to be in sync with source energy. Do your best to feel that expansiveness. Cultivate that emotional home of love, light, joy, prosperity, fun, fulfillment, freedom. That's the work. That's why we meditate. That's why we visualize. That's why we get sleep. That's why we exercise. That's why we nourish ourselves. All of these things are keeping us as much as possible in sync with that expansive energy, aligned with that expansive energy that creates worlds, aligned in the receiving mode, receiving the energy, the wisdom, the guidance of the energy that created the rings on Saturn, of the energy that created the whole universe itself. That's the work that we're doing as technical leaders, as humans. Do your best. Now, do your best does not mean strive for perfection. That is a recipe for disaster. And most of you know what I'm talking about there. Do your best to stay in sync with it, to be aligned with it. And when, not if, and when, the several times during the day when you wobble, take the bounce. Take the bounce. Because what a lot of you are doing is you're wobbling, you're feeling the negative emotion, anger, guilt, fear, sadness, disgust, frustration, et cetera, et cetera. You're feeling those things and you're fighting it. You're like, I shouldn't be feeling this thing. Oh my God, I need to get back in sync. And you're making yourself wrong and you're fighting it. That's also an uphill battle. And it's only going to lead to more struggle and more wobbling. Take the bounce. What does that mean? Feel your feelings. And you will come back to a place of centeredness, of neutrality. And then eventually, if you're open to it and you're in the receiving mode, more happiness, joy, peace, prosperity, etc. So take the bounce. Allow yourself to feel your feelings. And I've done a number of videos on this, including the one where I talk about tapping. I refer to it as having a controlled meltdown or something like that. And a controlled rage, right? Like feel your feelings, take the bounce. Now, at work, it's not always appropriate to if somebody were to say something negative to you and you were triggered, it's not always appropriate to just start tapping in that moment or start, doing deep breathing or meditating right in that moment or journaling about it, right? Let's get practical here. We do have to deal with it momentarily and then deal with it later on our own. Deal with it while the person is in front of us and then deal with it on our own. So you wobble because you're human and you're not source energy. And sometimes you get out of sync with source energy. And the best way to deal with it is to be in sync with source energy as much as you can through meditation, mindfulness, taking care of your mind, body, spirit in all the ways. And when you bounce, and when you feel the wobble, take the bounce. So let me get more practical now and give you some workplace scenario of how to deal with these wobbles and then bounces, with these negative emotions when you're feeling negative emotions at work, when others are feeling negative emotions. So let's paint the picture of there's a project delay, and it's a high stakes project. It's a high profile, high visibility project, and it's delayed. Doesn't matter why. I'm sure you can come up with a number of reasons why it's delayed, but the important point here is that it's delayed. A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, you're late, in other words. And according to the timeline, you're late. You're not able to deliver to the client. You're not able to launch the thing when you had expected. You're losing money. You're potentially losing the trust of clients, customers, users. And you may also be losing your mind a little bit as well. You're definitely losing patience. That's the scenario. So how do you deal with your own emotions? Take the bounce. Oh my God, this is so fucking frustrating. Karen, you had one job. Why couldn't you fucking do it? And now we're a month late. Oh my God, I am so worried about this. Oh my God, my reputation is at stake here. What is my boss going to say? My boss is going to yell at me. My boss is going to be upset. And so is my team. And oh, wow. What signal am I sending to my team here? I think that I'm partially to blame that this is delayed here. And I am just feeling so ashamed right now. I'm feeling ashamed. I'm feeling worried. I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling frustrated. And that's okay. It's really okay. It will pass over you. It will wash over you. I promise. How long it takes is going to depend on where you're at, the intensity of the situation, how familiar you are with this. how practiced you are, how habitual you've made it to go from extreme negative emotion to neutrality. So you could do tapping. You could also simply do deep breathing. You can put your hand on your heart. I'm fucking frustrated and so I'm ashamed. I'm worried. I feel guilty. It's okay. And don't minimize it. Because I actually just, even though I'm only pretending here, I've done this before. And so I'm going to share this with you. Sometimes you're like, oh, when I'm feeling a little bit guilty, and that's okay. You're not just feeling a little bit guilty because you're feeling it already. I feel guilty. Don't minimize it. I feel guilty. And that's okay. I feel like a loser. And that's okay. I feel like an imposter. And that's okay. Because none of that's true, ultimately. It's simply how you feel in the moment. So that's how you deal with it yourself. It's a conversation / moment with me, myself, and I. It's mind, body here. It's got to be both. It's mind, body. So notice how this isn't just talking to yourself. This isn't just engaging the prefrontal cortex, although some of that can be helpful. Sometimes turning on logic can be a great way to get out of fear. What I find is we're gonna combine that logicking, but not overusing it. And we're also going to get somatic. In other words, we're also going to get in our body. We're going to breathe. We're going to tap. We're going to move somehow. Take a walk. Take a brisk walk where you're really, really like moving your limbs. Oh my God, I'm so frustrated, and that's okay. Sometimes you can just shake. I'm so frustrated and worried and ashamed, and that's okay. Get your body into it. Get the energy moving. So if you follow anything in, Chinese medicine or Qigong or Tai Chi, it's all about getting the Qi moving. Get it moving and it will pass. Because our default state is neutrality, peace, equilibrium, harmony. That's our default state. That's where our mind, body, and soul wants to go back to. It's also true that our brain has a negativity bias. So we're working with that. Now, how do you deal with somebody else's negative emotions? I really love Mel Robinson's book here, Let Them. 2 stages, let them, then let me. So this is empowering. This is boundaries in 4 words. Let them, let me. So Mel Robbins is a great book. It's called Let Them. Say a team member, say you're in this scenario where it's delayed, you've dealt with it, and you're feeling okay. Obviously, it's not ideal, but you're dealing with it. You're handling it. It is figure outable. That's the state that you're in. But your team member, maybe multiple team members, are like losing their shit. Whether it's out of anger, whether it's out of fear, whether it's out of stress or overwhelm or burnout, you name it. They're losing their shit in their own way. And some people are losing their shit more obviously. Other people are quietly losing their shit. But yet they are. They're all losing their shit in their own idiosyncratic humanly ways. And they come to you in that state. How do you deal with their negative emotions? You talk to them like a human. You validate them. So I'll get into the validation in a second. When I say talk to them like a human, in that moment, yeah, you're your boss, but yeah, you're their boss, but more so, you're a fellow human with them. More so than anything else, especially in that moment that they're losing their shit. You're another human who is there to help them more so than being their boss in that moment. You're still their boss. It's not like chucking that out the window. It's kind of like if your daughter, if your son, if your wife, if your husband, if your favorite human, your friend, your brother, your sister came to you saying, I'm losing my shit right now. I don't know. This is so crazy in their own way. They may use those words, they may not, but you know that that's what's happening. What do you say? You validate. I know. It's really hard. It may not look like it, but I'm concerned about this. I want you to know that I know that this is figure outable and that we can handle this. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't feeling a little bit of this too. I so get it. Do you want to talk about it? And allow them to vent. And also allow them to say no. Allow them to say no. They may not want to talk about it with you for a variety of different reasons, and that's okay. Let them. Let them be angry. Let them be scared. Let them be unproductive for a period of time. Let them rest. Let them take a beat. Let them. So in other words, you are creating the space for them to do the thing that you're doing for yourself. You may also introduce them to tapping or deep breathing. You may invite them to go on a walk outside if weather permits and talk about anything else, God, please, but this project. The worst thing to do if someone comes to you in a losing their shit state about a project that's delayed is to talk more about the project and how to fix it. You have to allow them to feel their feelings first. Then you can get into problem solving, better yet, solution creating mode. But you cannot get into solution creative mode, innovative mode, if you're suppressing negative emotions, or if you still have negative emotions to vent, to feel. Chi that needs to get moved. Stagnant chi does not create innovation. Move the chi. Do it for the energy. The energy is coursing through you. Do it for yourself, do it for your team. Do the work. Have fun with it. What if it could be easy? What if it could be effortless to stay as high vibe as possible, as often as possible? And what if it could also be easy and effortless and useful to take the bounce and to be a model for that for your team as well? Take care. Stay tuned for more.